On this episode of the Locked On Texans podcast, Cody and I close out the week talking about who's back and who's not, getting ready for Denver, and we're diving into the YouTube comments.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily Houston Texans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to this Friday's episode of the Locked On Texans podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Say it with me.
Your team every day.
Thank you to all of our first-time listeners, viewers, and subscribers. If this is your first time stumbling on the Locked On Texans podcast, do us a favor. Not asking for much. Just subscribe, like, and comment to the Locked On Texans YouTube page and wherever you get your podcast. And thank you to all of our returning listeners lending your ear for another episode as Cody and I talk Texans. I am your Texans football analyst, John Some Sports Guy Hickman, and I'm your analyst. Whether I'm right or wrong, my opinions are yours. I'm analyzing the Texans from my point of view, but you know I have fun doing it, and I also have fun doing the show each and every day with Texans credential media member, Sports Illustrated's own Cody Davis. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Today we dive into the YouTube comments. That's going to be fun. You guys have been absolutely killing it, whether you've been a listener, viewer for a long time, or if this is your first week commenting, built up the courage. You're not scary. Thank you for commenting. We got some nice comments to get into. We also look at getting ready for the Denver Broncos, a red hot team coming into this game, winners of 5 straight games. But Cody, Thursday, you happen to be where you always are, posted at the NRG. The Texans had practice. There was some worries. There's still awesome worries, but we're looking at who's back and who's not.
Yes, sir. And of course, I'm going to start with the biggest name who was back at practice following the hamstring injury, Jimmy Ward. And of course, a week after the Texans gave up not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 plays of 40 or more yards, Jimmy Ward did come back to practice on Thursday. It was a great sight to see. But, John, listeners and viewers, I don't want to get too excited about the return of Jimmy Ward because I am wondering, are they going to do it similar to how they did Damian Pierce a couple weeks ago? Remember, he had missed 2 games and he came back, I believe, either that Thursday or that Friday practice. He missed 1 more. Then, of course, he made his return against Jacksonville. And knowing that this is a Thursday, by the way, he was a full participant. So that's good news. Hopefully, he's going to have an opportunity to come back to the game on Sunday, especially going up against one of, I'm not going to say a top 10 quarterback in today's terms, but you still got to respect him, giving his body of work. And that's, of course, going up against Russell Wilson, because if Trevor Lawrence can find, some weak spots in this secondary, I'm pretty sure Russell Wilson will be able to do the same if Jimmy Ward is not out there on the field. However, the next biggest name who did make a return to practice, despite not practicing on Wednesday, was Tank Dell. Everybody was a little bit nervous when we did not see Tank Dell out there on Wednesday due to a calf injury. However, he did come back, but he was limited. And the next biggest name of guys who returned to not just to practice, but the possibility of them returning to the field on Sunday, Noah Brown. John, I don't know about you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe outside of week 1, if Noah Brown and Tank Dell plays alongside Robert Woods and Nico Collins, is this going to be, I want to say, the second game of the season where all 4 of those guys will be healthy and suit up? If I'm not mistaken, I think so. And if there has been a game outside of week 1, it might have just been one other game, but there hasn't been too many opportunities where all 4 wide receivers play at the same time, which is a good thing,
It has not.
given how hot the Denver Broncos 5-game winning streak are coming inside of NRG Stadium. By the way, I think the biggest news of guys who were not participating on Thursday was tight end Dalton Schultz, hamstring injury.
Yes.
Second day in a row he was not at practice. John, to flip it over back to you, that's something that you have been talking about this whole entire week, especially in the second quarter, where he seemed like he was not running his route to his full speed.
Yeah, you saw it on camera. You saw it on TV for us. We had opportunity to see it live, at the NRG Stadium, sitting up high, looking down low. No pun intended at all, by the way. But we had an opportunity to see that, and everybody kind of shook their head like, was Dalton Schultz even really running on that fourth and one play right there? And he was, but not to his full potential. And after that, a lot of us got to scratching our heads, thinking to ourselves, hey, we haven't seen Dalton Schultz in a while. And the numbers came out, and I think Dalton Schultz maybe only ran 3 or 4 routes. I can't remember. I said it earlier in the week. It was 4 routes in the fourth quarter compared to, I believe, maybe 16 in the first half. And we saw Brevin Jordan get a bulk of the opportunities in that fourth quarter. And I thought to myself immediately, like, something's not right. I think he's banged up. We'll see how it all turns out. And then today we found out that he's, in jeopardy of playing Sunday. And for Houston, this is a blow. He was not impactful in Sunday's matchup, and I think that's a big reason why we saw the offense at times kind of be stale. When this offense is moving, you're seeing Dalton Schultz maybe on a 2nd and 7, maybe on a 3rd and 5. You're seeing him in that connection between CJ and Dalton Schultz kind of pop off the screen. But that wasn't the case Sunday. And so now for Houston, they have to pivot over to Brevin Jordan. And with Brevin Jordan getting some opportunities, guys, I'm gonna be 100% real with you. Brevin Jordan has only played through, what are we in, week 12 now, week 13? But Brevin Jordan has only, in 49 snaps, only ran a receiving route in 49 snaps compared to Dalton Schultz, 317. And I think that's an issue. We haven't had an opportunity to see Brevin Jordan a lot. And so now I'm going into this game thinking to myself, how much can Houston count on Brevin Jordan, right? How much of a factor, how impactful can he be for this offense? And I'm kind of questioning that. It is worrisome a little bit, but Houston has to find a way to get him involved. We know that Brevin Jordan, he ran a 4.6, 4.5 coming out of Miami a few years ago. We know that if you give him an opportunity, he has some speed to make some moves out of space and pick up a couple of extra yards, but has not had the opportunity to do so this year. So that's an issue. And I think Houston, I'm curious to see how Bobby Sloak addresses it. But back to the Jimmy Ward point, that's big for Houston. Right, looking at who's back, who's not. I don't think this was a game, and I don't think there's any other games to close out the year that Houston can afford Jimmy Ward to miss. So it's great to get him back on the field. It's great that Tank Dell, I think a lot of people saw that he was missing practice yesterday on Wednesday. And then in the early parts of Thursday, you guys didn't have an opportunity to see him, but he did come out to practice. So you saw a lot of fans worrying, like, oh my gosh, where's Tank Dell? Right? It's okay. Tank is going to play, and that's great news because CJ definitely needs his go-to playmaker. Right, you get an opportunity to get Tank, to get Nico, to get Robert Woods, to get Noah Brown back, who in 2 games was the home run hitter for Houston. We know about the 75-yard TD come out of halftime. We know about some of the bigger plays that he's been able to make when he was featured. So that's big for Houston. They're going to need all the help they can get, not because this is such a point-heavy team. Like the Denver Broncos, they don't score a lot of points. This isn't an explosive offense. But this is a team full of vets. This is a defense with PS2, Patrick Surtain, which a lot of people may feel like he's the best cornerback in the league right now. I wouldn't argue against it. The defense is playing some great defense right now, creating turnovers. And for Houston, ideally, you want all of your weapons out on that field. So the guys that are back, that's great news. Before we move on, Cody, and I know Houston does, a job of not allowing the media members to really see practice.
Mm-hmm.
But is there any news or any word on the confidence level in the offensive line heading into Sunday's matchup?
No, it's about the same. That's that's a hard question to answer only because we just see players. John, you've been out there. We only see players and stuff just go through their warm-ups and stuff. We're just out there just to say who's here, who's not here. So we don't really see them do any 11 on 11, 7 on 7s or anything like that. So before moving on, I do want to mention that Sheldon Rankins was also a non-participant during Thursday's practice. That could be a very big thing only because the previous week might have been one of, if not the worst performance of that defensive line front, especially considering that they did not, only because they did not give up. I think they only give up like 1 or 2 pressures. Of course, they did not give up a sack, and it seemed like Trevor Lawrence had a field day. So, once again, I look at this from a standpoint. I know Russell Wilson is not the Russell Wilson, the dangerous quarterback as he was in Seattle. But what I would say, due to his experience, due to the fact that based off of his resume, his background, he is still a quarterback that if you do not pressure him, if he finds a weak hole in your secondary, it can create a long day for your defense. And I think if Sheldon Rankins doesn't play on Sunday, I think that is going to hinder the production of that defensive line unit.
And I think the front seven all together. This is a front seven that needs everybody to do their job. So I do want to mention that CJ Stroud was named Offensive Rookie of the Month.
Oh, what a surprise.
And Tank Dell in the month of November, we're closing out the month. Today's the first. Wake up. It's the first of the month. Tank Dell has 5 receiving TDs, which is first in the NFL, and 14 receptions, 15 or more yards, which is also first in the NFL. So we know the connection between CJ and Tank Dell has been lovely for Houston, which is why it sucks. The 713 connection isn't a thing. But, guys, I'll tell you what's a thing. And you know what it is? Right now, it's FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offer stays hot on FanDuel. It's burning up right now over on the app. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 in your pocket if your team wins. So what does that mean? Look, if you're thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much more. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and kick off the remaining of the season, NFL season right now. It's the playoff push, the playoff hunt is popping right now. FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL. Welcome back in, Locked On Texan listeners and viewers. CJ Stroud talked about how he's balancing the big plays versus taking small gains. And I'm going to kind of look at that when we take a look at how Houston can get ready for Denver. But really quick, Zach Ertz has been released by the Arizona Cardinals. This is a team. As we know, Dalton Schultz is battling his own issues, and we don't know if he'll play. But this is a team. Follow me now. I mentioned that Brevin Jordan only has 49 snaps with receiving routes ran. Tegan Quattoriano only 26 snaps with receiving routes ran, and we haven't seen much of him this year. This is a team that is tight end deprived, I think. Dalton Schultz has been good for Houston, no doubt about it. But I think Houston has had issues throughout the entire year of finding a solid tight end too. They haven't been able to run a lot of 2 tight end sets simply because it just isn't. It's kind of like, why are we doing it right now? And I also think, by the way, that Brevin Jordan should get some looks to close out the year, maybe in that fullback position. That'll allow Houston. He's been doing a very good job of being able to block. And I think that you can do some things with him out of the backfield as a receiving back or receiving player, however you want to look at it. I think that's a skill set that Bobby Slough should look to utilize. But I'm looking at this opportunity for Houston and Zach Ertz. The case for Zach Ertz is he's been featured in 186 snaps running a receiving route, according to PFF. I think that Zach Ertz, at the very least, could be a cheap premier decoy. I think that Zach Ertz can at least be a very good red zone target for Houston. And Houston does not have a red zone go-to player right now, right? They've been able to kind of find guys, which is great. Tank has got in on the action. Nico has got in on the action in the red zone. You see CJ running in, but they don't have like a red zone threat. So I do think that at his stage in his career, it'll be a cheap deal, right? Nothing crazy. And I also know that they got $500,000 back because Shaquille Griffin signed with the Carolina Panthers. So that's some money that they're saving. Shaquille Griffin was released. Yeah, I think Houston should take a look at Zach Ertz sometime next week. I don't think he gets picked up no time today or over the weekend. But come Monday, we know that Matt Burke coaching Arizona. Maybe there's some, respectability there between the two. Something of a workman friendship or co-workership, however you want to look at it. And maybe Matt Burke can convince Zach Ertz, to give Houston a chance. Now getting ready for Denver. With CJ saying trying to balance the big games versus taking the small opportunities. I got killed on Twitter for this. Not necessarily killed. It was a great conversation with some great people.
Not like our colleague.
Not like our colleague, but we had an opportunity to, I talked to a couple of coaches at, the high school level, middle school level, former players. And I said on the crossover, so I think this is a perfect opportunity for Houston to try to limit the hits and turnovers by being able to run the ball and control the clock. And I still believe that. And I think for Houston, so when the Texans went up against the Panthers, I said the same thing. This is only probably the second time this year I said Houston needs to look to, establish a run. When the Texans went up against the Panthers, who was the premier running back for that team? Still Dameon Pierce.
Dameon Pierce.
I think this team is a much better running team with Devin Singletary as their premier running back. And I think that moving forward, Devin Singletary should continue to be the premier running back for this team. You allow Dameon Pierce to kind of work his way back into that rotation. You want to see him make plays. But with the Broncos allowing 155 yards on the ground per game, the Broncos are allowing guys to kind of, as a team, collectively run over them. I think this is a game to allow Devin Singletary to kick it off. Allow Devin Singletary to be the guy that can, make CJ's job easier. And I know CJ have been winning the games, right? I know this offense moves under wherever CJ takes it, that's where it goes. I get that. And I'm not taking away from that. But I do want to see CJ in some more favorable positions. How many times did we see, whether that was due to the offensive line, whether that was due to CJ taking sacks, whether that was due to just negative plays, how many third and longs did we see from Houston this past Sunday? How many second and longs did we see from Houston this past Sunday? And so I think to get an offense on a good rhythm, you want to limit that in the first quarter. Try to establish the run on the first couple of drives. Now, if it's not working, it's not working. And then maybe you'll wrinkle it in throughout the game. But the first couple of drives, I think this is a good opportunity for Houston to try that out. And I'm not scared of the Denver Broncos offense to where it's kind of like we need to go out and be explosive off top. I think the Denver Broncos offense is slow. Nobody scares me. So if drive one or drive two for Houston, if they're not able to run the ball and then maybe they have to punt it, I'm not scared that Denver's going to go down and put up 7 quickly or put up 10 points in the first 2 drives for them because of an explosive offense. So, again, to bring it back in, Cody, before I give it back over to you, and I apologize, I think that Houston should look to give Devin Singletary some good options. Just Scruggs is now inserted. We know how good of a job Fenn has been doing and Mason, right? Give him an opportunity to help out your quarterback.
I agree with everything that you said. They have to establish a run against one of, if not arguably, the worst team at stopping the run. You already gave the stat of how many yards the Broncos have given up through this entire season, but just take it back 1 week. even though they beat the Cleveland Browns, they gave up a total of 169 yards on the ground. So there is no reason in the world why the Texans should not try to establish a run against Denver. I understand it. I get it. Over the last couple of weeks, probably ever since week 2 of the regular season, after the Texans went on that run, and almost completed a comeback against the Indianapolis Colts. I get it. We have been preaching, trust CJ Stroud, use CJ Stroud, be a passing team instead of a run team. However, you saw what type of success that you can have when Devin Singletary is RB1 versus when DP is RB1. Once again, no shot at DP.
Not at all. And I also want to add this. I'm looking at Devin Singletary, and he's been good for Houston, catching the ball out of the backfield at times too. Mm-hmm. So, I think what we're looking at is get Devin Singletary going. But 2-game stretch when he rushed for over 250 yards. You saw that offense kind of move, man, and maybe leaning on him a little bit more as a vet, as a guy who came from an explosive offense, as a guy that knows how to one cut and get up the field and make a play and make a couple of guys miss. Maybe he needs to be featured a tad bit more, or back to those 2-game stretch where you got an opportunity to see him with the ball in his hands.
Yeah, but John, I want to ask you this, and I'm wondering how much is the injury to Titus Howard is part of the reason why people are a little bit hesitant to depend on the run. And then look, I get it, understand it. Titus Howard at left guard, he had his moments, but he wasn't the best. I get all that. Might have been the worst production we've seen from him ever since he came to this franchise. What was that, back in 2019? I get all of that. However, you replace Titus Howard with Juice Scruggs. One of his best attributes coming out of college was his ability as a run blocker. However, this is only his second career game. And I'm just wondering how much is the uncertainty of that offensive line. Not only are you replacing a solid offensive lineman, but you're replacing him with a rookie who's only playing his second game. And look, I know some people out there hate to hear experience and all this other stuff, but that plays a factor, especially considering that your number one offensive lineman in Laramie Tunsil isn't playing to his best due to the issues that he's having with his knees. So I do wonder how much is actually playing into whether or not the Texans will depend on a run against Denver.
Yeah, but you know what? Honestly, guys, and this is just me, I believe in Juice Scruggs as a run blocker more than I believe in Titus Howard as a run blocker.
This will be the game to find out.
The Game Time app, they take the guesswork out of buying tickets. You shouldn't have to guess when you're looking to buy your next ticket to the next big event. Whether you're looking for sports, music, comedy, theater, whatever event is going on near you, you're not worrying with Game Time. They got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and my favorite feature, views from your seat, along with the best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. All-in prices show your total up front, so you know exactly what type of deal you're getting without the hidden fees. And if you're like me, I'm sick and tired of fees. I can go on a rant. Fees are just getting out of hand, right? And this is what makes Game Time so great. It ain't no fees getting hid nowhere. They're not hiding from you. They right in your face. Buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. With zone deals, you pick the section and Game Time picks the seats for an average of 18% savings. Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. And if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase.
Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen, to this Friday installment of Locked On Texans. John, I got an issue. I've had an opportunity to chop it up with CJ Stroud a couple times at his locker, just me and him. We have actually been in debates inside the locker room with other media members and, teammates, a lot of times just arguing about basketball. And one thing I've noticed when me and CJ talk, we share a lot in common. We do share a lot in common, and hopefully we can continue building a relationship. But saying Baby Boy is your top 5 movie, man, of all time. And what you mean? I am.
I'm not mad at that.
Really?
I'm not mad at that.
I get it. He's from Cali, and maybe no.
Baby Boy is a classic. And I'm gonna take it a step further.
I don't even like that movie, to be honest with you.
I'm gonna tell you what the problem is. Oh my gosh, CJ. Shout out to CJ. I'm your boy. The problem is,
oh my goodness.
Majority of the people, when they think of Baby Boy, they think of the BET version. Baby Boy, the movie without all the, the BET edits, forget you. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Baby Boy is a very good movie. It's a good movie about a coming of age movie. And by the way, y'all do know that Tyrese was only technically like 18 or 19 in that movie, right?
It still doesn't make it a good movie.
That honestly, I'm gonna
give him a pass for his age.
Do you think Boys in the Hood was a good movie?
Yes, most definitely.
That movie is up there with Boys in the Hood.
No, boy, you are tripping. What about Menace to Society?
I'm gonna be real with you.
No, you know what? Stop. Don't even say it. Because when you say, I'm going to be real with you, I know where you're going. So, no, let's just stop this debate right now. Listeners and viewers, if you know what movies we are talking about, rank them 1, 2, and 3. Because I'm taking almost any movie before I take Baby.
Really quick, and shout out to CJ, because I didn't even thank you for this. Shout out to CJ. Have you never been 18, 19 years old after high school just trying to figure it out?
Yeah, we all have. We still trying to figure it out. We being honest. But come on, man. Like
some of the stuff that I sold to make money, listen, it was all legal. Y'all know I was selling chicken wings for a while.
I remember that was good too. That was good too. I remember that.
No dresses, right? I had my partners, my friends. Yeah, bro. Listen, Baby Boy is a classic and a very good coming of age movie. But let's dive into the YouTube comments. First comment that I want to dive into. This is the Locked On Extra that we did for Titus Howard. Mm-hmm. Why does John always look depressed? What y'all want me to look like while I'm up here? I'm not talking. I'm letting my co-host get it in. Do I look depressed? I'll be happy. I'm tired though. My response to that was, man, I'm tired. I'm really tired. But I'm not depressed. I'm happy. I don't get it. With 6 games left, that podcast. This is from Mirror Fan 3348, excuse me. And this question was asked a couple of times. John, please clarify what you mean by they need to take the training wheels off John Mechie. It is Stroud's decision to who he throws the ball to. Talk about it. Well, why even though it is CJ Stroud's decision, we've had games where no Noah Brown, no Robert Woods, but John Mechie was available. And when I say that this is an opportunity for Houston to take the training wheels off of John Mechie, first and foremost, John Mechie has only dropped 1 pass this year. Only two passes, were not caught by John Mechie, and one of them was not catchable. Every time John Mechie has caught the ball outside of the Jacksonville Jaguar games, the 2 games, 12 yards, 12 yards per catch, 12 and a half yards per catch, 14, 10, 22 with a big catch, right? 17 with a big catch. John Mechie has proven to be reliable with his hands and has proven to be able to move the chains. And what I'm disappointing is John Mechie does not have over 2 targets this season. To take it a step further, when you look at the wide receiver snap count breakdown, Noah Brown, 31, and he's missed several games. Xavier Hutchinson at 11. He's another guy I think Houston should give more opportunity to. But John Mechie's only at 21.19. So I think right now for Houston offensively, they're still trying to figure out who they can put on their field and trust to make plays, which is a big reason why we saw Xavier Hutchinson get involved in the reverse game, the run game. catches some reverses. And then this past week, Xavier Hutchinson was fielding punts and kickoff returns. So clearly he's a guy that they want to get involved on the field so they can make some plays. He can make some plays for him. And John Mitchell, I think, is also right there. He needs to be featured more. If you go back and watch some of these games where he caught a pass, did he play the next snap?
Nope.
So football is a game of rhythm. You got to get in rhythm. And it's not just a quarterback. It's also your receiver still trying to figure out their way in the league. It's also for your receiver in the second year who didn't get an opportunity to play in year one, trying to establish himself and get healthy and be an impact player on a explosive offense when it's explosive and a playoff hunt team. So that's what I'm getting at. There's been too many times where we've seen John Mitchell just tank out of the games. Thank you for this catch. We're going to take you out. And I think that's unfair.
It is, and it's getting to the point. I'm not going to say it's getting to the point where it's frustrating, but it is a little bit disappointing only because, John, you know me, going all the way back to our season predictions, the number one thing that I was saying about John is this is going to be a year for him to get back in football shape. And trust me, to be honest with you, he is definitely ready to go out there and break free and contribute. I know because I asked him about it. We talked about it. And it's a process that the Texans still have him going through, rightfully so, given what he went through last year. However, I do believe that it's only a matter of time before he really gets that opportunity to go out there on the field, showcase what he can do. But at the same time, I felt like to a certain extent, it's been a couple missed opportunities because, John, to your point, there's been games to where, we could just go back to last week, just due to the fact that Noah Brown wasn't playing. That should have been a moment where John Mechie, the Texans should have depended on and utilized John Mechie a lot more. What I said to open up the show.
I thought John Mitchell should have been on their last drive. Honestly.
Exactly. Like what I said to open up the show. I think if Tank Dell and Noah Brown plays on Sunday, this could possibly be the second, if not no more than the third game that Dell, Brown, Woods, and Nico, all four will be dressed up. So you're telling me that's 2 or 3 games out of a possible, 12 as of right now? They have definitely been moments, especially after the bye week, that John Mechie should have been utilized a lot more. And it's disappointing. But at the same time, you have to keep in mind that it's a process that he's going through, given everything that happened last year.
Yeah. Last comment, man. I think this is a pretty good one from Abigail RTEH. D'Amico should take responsibility for the defense. I don't think he's not taking responsibility.
Oh, he definitely is.
A lot of times you guys are maybe seeing or hearing or maybe probably not seeing the fire like you maybe want to see, but the responsibility is definitely D'Amico's, right? And Matt Burks. He is the DC, but it's on D'Amico. He said it before. We getting all this pressure on the quarterback. We ain't getting no sacks. And I wonder how much not getting turnovers is bothering D'Amico Ryans too. And that's
that is a fact.
That's my baby crying. So thank you guys for checking out today's episode of the Locked On Texans podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Well, give me a follow on X at John_Hickman12. Follow us on X at Locked On Texans as well.
And as always, I'm your host, Cody M. Davis. Please remember to follow me on Twitter at Cody Davis _24. Once again, that's Cody COTYDAVIS _24. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, peace.